Hi, I'm Orlando Sentinel movie critic Roger Moore, here today with Rob Stewart, who is the writer, director, editor, videographer, everything for the movie Sharkwater. Scuba diver, oceanographer of some sort, shark expert, fan of sharks, and the movie is about sharks and how we've misjudged them. How did you first become interested in sharks?
When I was a kid, I was, just in love with the oceans and fish, and any reptiles or amphibians, anything like that, were my passion, much more than the cute and cuddly animals. And sharks were like the last dragons, the last dinosaurs we had on the planet, and everyone was afraid of them. So for me as a kid growing up, there was some sort of passion there, and I spent a lot of time growing up on Sentinel Island, and I used to go fishing for them and trying to catch them any way that I could, and that just sort of furthered throughout my life.
That's at some point you had an epiphany, some sort of breakthrough that made you stop wanting to catch them and study them. What was that?
Yeah, it made no sense to me because as a kid I loved the ocean, and the ocean was a great and beautiful place until I thought about sharks, until I started to hear the Jaws theme music in my mind, and then I'd be afraid. And the underwater world, which was my favorite thing in the world, was a terrible place all of a sudden. And it made no sense to me why, if sharks were so dangerous, why I'd never met anyone that had ever been bitten by a shark. And I finally met a shark when I was 9, and meeting the shark for the first time shifts everything for you, especially as an impressionable kid. And then from that point on, I was sort of trying to figure them out.
The first image that really grabs you from the movie Sharkwater is you hugging a shark, and the shark seems to dig it. How do you get to that point, from being a kid who's sort of a fan of sharks to somebody who's willing to go up and hug one?
I spent a lot of my life underwater with sharks. I started taking pictures underwater when I was 13, and went to school for marine biology and zoology, and studied sharks in Jamaica and in Kenya, and eventually became an underwater photographer. And I traveled the world, 8 months of the year photographing animals, and a lot of what I did was sharks. And the way Sharkwater came about was I took a photo assignment to the Galapagos Islands, which is 600 miles off the coast of Ecuador, and it's a World Heritage Site, it's a marine reserve, and I was expecting and really excited about photographing sharks in all their majesty underwater. And when I arrived as, a really excited kid about photographing these animals, I found 200 of them dead and dying on 60 miles of illegally set long lines. And that opened my eyes to the fact that sharks were being wiped out, and nobody knew about it or cared, largely because everyone was afraid of sharks.
So did that same thing translate to finding difficulty getting distribution for the film or funding for the film?
Yeah, funding for the film and getting the film off the ground was really difficult, because I started this 5 years ago. And 5 years ago, nobody wanted to hear about conservation at all. Every TV station, every network, every broadcaster said, people were in the business to put bums in seats. People want to be entertained. They don't want to learn that their lives are hurting the planet. They want to feel bad about themselves. So nobody wanted to fund it. And especially because I'd never made a film before. This was a first-time director, and so all of that was against us, and that's sort of why the movie took so long to put together.
Well, it takes a lot of nerve as a shark expert to come to the shark bite capital of the world, New Smyrna Beach, and ask college co-eds what they think of sharks there. Is that why you came to New Smyrna? I mean, Volusia County being the shark bite capital?
Yeah, absolutely. That was one of the reasons why we filmed quite a bit of the movie in Florida, was because this is the shark mistake, shark bite capital of the world, and we wanted to get the impressions of this area, and also the reason why we're bringing the film out here first, because when the film hits theaters across the U.S., the world is going to be looking to Florida going, well, what do you think? And if we can hit the ground running in Florida first and get people on side, which I think most of them are, then I think we'll be doing well.
Well, let's get to that concept there as a last question here. The idea that what the shark is doing is making a mistake whenever it takes a nip out of your ankle on New Smyrna Beach, or takes a hunk out of your leg on the Indian River Lagoon, or wherever you run into one. Yeah. Is it a mistake, you think?
Yeah, well, if you look at all the shark attacks throughout history, I mean, if sharks were really predators of people, the oceans would be a really dangerous place to be, and they're not. And if sharks, did eat human beings, then all the shark attacks would result in the removal of flesh. They'd be biting chunks out of us, and they're not. They bite, they realize they made a mistake, and 90-some-odd% of the time, flesh is never removed. They bite, they realize they got something they didn't want, and they let go. And that's why, there's no intent from the shark to do the human harm. They get something they didn't want, and they let go.
So it's sort of like the little speech that the sharks in Finding Nemo repeat, fish are friends, not food. Sharks are not necessarily unfriendly. Yeah,
exactly. They're, the reality is they've been on the planet for 400 million years, eating things that live in the oceans. We've hopped into the oceans only in the last, maybe 1,000, 100 years, and any numbers that they could adapt to feeding on us, and they haven't done that. And, more people are killed by soda pop machines than sharks. Elephants kill 200 people a year. Yet an elephant falls for ivory in Africa and the world goes crazy. We kill 100 million sharks a year. They kill 5 of us, and nobody notices or cares.
Well, terrific film, Rob.
Thank you.
And best of luck getting this message that sharks are not necessarily the evil monsters that we've always seen them to be in Jaws and in films like that across to the public.
Thanks.